The flight of the chicken. Why don't chickens fly like eagles? Imagine this. The longest flight a chicken has ever made lasted only 13 seconds. Although chickens have wings, they aren't designed for long flights. Unlike eagles and other birds, chickens can only take short hops and fly a few meters by flapping their wings. This feature is due to their anatomy. Their bodies are too heavy, and their wing muscles are not developed enough for sustained flight. However, in rare cases, chickens can cover significant distances. But this is the exception rather than the rule. So next time you see a chicken, remember, it may be a bird, but it's far from being an aerial creature. Can you imagine that on Mercury, the year is shorter than the day? On Mercury, the closest planet of the Sun, time works in a completely different way than on Earth. It takes only 88 Earth days for Mercury to complete a full orbit around the Sun, but one full rotation on its axis takes 176 Earth days. This means that on Mercury, one day lasts twice as long as a year. Can you imagine living on a planet where morning and evening are separated by months? This astonishing fact makes Mercury one of the most peculiar planets in our solar system. Did you know that crocodiles can digest metal objects? A crocodile's stomach is a powerhouse of digestion. It produces one of the strongest acids in the animal kingdom, capable of breaking down bones and even metal. This trait is especially handy when crocodiles swallow stones to regulate their weight or accidentally ingest metal objects like fishing hooks or nails. This incredible digestive power ensures that they can thrive in the wild by consuming almost anything that comes their way. So, if a crocodile accidentally swallows something metal, it has no problem making a meal out of it. Did you know there are more plastic flamingos than real ones in the world? This is no joke. The plastic flamingos that often adorn lawns and yards have become so popular that there are now more of them than living flamingos in the wild. This surprising fact about pop culture shows how even seemingly random decorative elements can take over the world. The plastic flamingo has become a symbol of American lawn design and has gained massive popularity. Who would have thought that toy birds could outnumber their living counterparts? It's fascinating that buildings can be cooled without electricity. There are technologies that allow buildings to stay cool using special insulation and solar reflectors. So-called green roofs are covered with vegetation, creating natural shade and preventing overheating. Additionally, reflective materials are used to bounce sunlight and lower indoor temperatures. In this way, on hot summer days, these buildings remain cool without air conditioners or electricity. Do you suffer from kenophobia, fear of empty spaces? Kenophobia is a rare and unusual fear of empty spaces. People who have this fear feel uncomfortable in overly open places, where there is no furniture or objects creating a sense of fullness. Imagine playing hide and seek with someone who has kenophobia. The thought of finding a place to hide in a large, empty room could become a real nightmare. This phobia highlights just how different our perceptions of the world around us can be. Can you imagine a shoe the size of a car? In 2015, an Indian shoemaking company crafted the world's largest shoe, measuring a whopping 6.4 meters in length and almost 3 meters in height. This colossal shoe is the equivalent of a US size 2090 and was made from leather, rubber, and foam. It's hard to imagine anyone wearing it, but it's certainly a record-breaking feat of craftsmanship. It's amazing, but the platypus is one of the strangest creatures on Earth. This incredible Australian animal, which looks like a mix of different creatures, has baffled scientists for centuries. The platypus lays eggs, produces milk for its young, and has venomous spurs on its hind legs. This combination of traits makes it one of the most unique mammals on the planet. Despite its odd characteristics, the platypus has lived on Earth for millions of years and remains a symbol of nature's mysteries and evolution. Eyes bigger than the brain. The amazing anatomy of ostriches. As strange as it may seem, ostriches have eyes bigger than their brains. These huge birds have the largest eyes of any land animal, with a diameter of up to 5 centimeters. But despite this, their brain is relatively small. However, thanks to their large eyes, ostriches can see far distances and detect danger long before it gets close. What incredible creatures ostriches are. Large eyes, but a small brain that still manages to perform all the necessary functions. What if I told you there's an island in Japan covered in volcanic ash? Sakurajima Island in Japan is one of the most active volcanoes in the world. Eruptions occur so frequently that a layer of volcanic ash covers the entire island. Local residents have adapted to living in these conditions, and the island even has special machines to clean volcanic ash from the streets. Despite the constant threat, This island is home to thousands of people and a popular tourist destination. Can you imagine that some fungi control insects? Deep in the Amazon rainforest lives a fungus called Ophiocordyceps, which literally turns ants into zombies. The fungus invades the ant's body and takes over its mind, forcing it to climb up a tree before it dies. Then the fungus sprouts out of the ant's head and releases spores to infect others. It sounds like a horror movie plot, but these fungi really exist, and it's one of nature's most mind-blowing phenomena. Did you know that scorpions can glow in the dark? When exposed to ultraviolet light, scorpions begin to glow bright blue-green. This happens due to a substance in their exoskeleton that reacts to ultraviolet light. Scientists are still debating why scorpions have this ability. It might help them hide from predators or serve as a signal to other scorpions. Whatever the reason, it's one of nature's most astonishing phenomena. How about this? In Turkey, there is an ancient underground city that could hold over 20,000 people. Derinkuyu is one of the largest and most mysterious underground cities in the world. It was built thousands of years ago in Cappadocia and consists of several levels deep underground. For centuries, the city was used as a refuge during wars and raids. It included everything needed for life: living quarters, wineries, churches, ventilation shafts, and even schools. The city was discovered accidentally in 1963, and to this day, archaeologists have not fully explored all of its secrets. Why is kissing camels banned in Egypt, and what could happen if you disobey? In Egypt, you can find signs warning, "No camel kissing." And it's not as strange as it sounds. These animals can be unpredictable, and they also carry infections that can be transmitted to humans. Despite their friendly appearance, camels can show aggression, especially when they feel threatened. It's better to keep a safe distance and settle for a photo to avoid any unpleasant surprises. Coca-Cola and its secret ingredients. The name Coca-Cola comes from two of its original ingredients, coca leaves and cola nuts, which were used to give the drink its distinctive taste and effects. The coca leaves provided a mild stimulant, while the cola nuts added caffeine. Today, the exact formula of Coca-Cola remains a closely guarded secret. Despite changes to the recipe, the story behind its creation and the brand's mystique continue to fascinate people around the world. Imagine for a moment, frogs can freeze, but not die. Have you ever wondered how nature copes with winter's cold? Some species of frogs have found an incredible way to survive the winter. They literally freeze but don't die. Their bodies produce a special antifreeze that prevents ice from damaging their cells. As soon as the temperature rises, these frogs simply thaw out and go on living as if nothing happened. This amazing mechanism is yet another testament to nature's incredible adaptation to harsh conditions. Why did the famous bridge in Venice almost sink? The Rialto Bridge is the oldest and one of the most recognizable bridges in Venice. It began to sink shortly after its construction in the 16th century. Venice itself is subject to constant flooding, so the bridge has gradually sunk over time. Engineers have conducted numerous restoration works to preserve it, but Venice still faces the threat of sinking, and the Rialto Bridge serves as a reminder of the fragility of this magnificent city. Isn't it fascinating that our brain stays alert when we sleep in a new place? Have you ever noticed that you sleep less soundly the first night in a new place, like a hotel or a friend's house? This is due to a phenomenon known as the first night effect. It turns out that part of our brain remains on guard when we sleep in an unfamiliar environment, helping to protect us from potential threats. Studies show that the left hemisphere of the brain remains more active than the right, allowing us to react more quickly to external stimuli. This ancient survival mechanism helps our bodies adapt to new surroundings. But don't worry, over time the brain adjusts to the new place, and the first night effect fades, allowing you to sleep more peacefully. 857 hours of film, the longest movie in the world. The Swedish experimental film Logistics is officially the longest film in the world. Its duration is 857 hours. That's 35 days and 17 hours. The film was shot in real time and depicts the fascinating, though quite monotonous, journey of a pedometer, a device for measuring distance, from a factory in China to a buyer in Sweden. If you want to watch the entire film, you'll need almost a month and a half of continuous viewing. Who would have thought that logistics could be so long? It's hard to believe, but giraffes and humans have the same number of neck vertebrae. Despite the fact that a giraffe's neck is much longer, both giraffes and humans have the same number of neck vertebrae, 7. These bones provide support for the head and allow neck mobility. In giraffes, they are simply much longer than in humans. This fascinating fact highlights the amazing diversity of evolution and nature, despite the external differences between species. Organic food. Truth or myth about its benefits? Research shows that there is no significant difference between organic and conventional foods in terms of nutritional value. While many believe that organic products are healthier and taste better, science doesn't support major distinctions. Some studies have also found no notable differences in taste. However, people often choose organic foods for lower pesticide levels and more eco-friendly farming practices. When choosing between organic and conventional, it's up to each person to decide what matters most: taste or caring for the planet. Did you know that there are hotels in Japan run by robots? In Japan, there is a hotel chain called Henna Hotel, where guests are served by robots. Robots can greet visitors, check them in, and even deliver their luggage to their rooms. In some cases, cleaning and room service are also handled by machines. This innovative approach brings a futuristic feel to hospitality, making Japan one of the leaders in robotic service. And although it sounds like the future, you can experience this today. Believe it or not, birds can talk. Many species of parrots can mimic human speech, but not because they understand words. They memorize the sounds and rhythms they hear and repeat them with surprising accuracy. Moreover, some parrots can remember and reproduce dozens of phrases and even sing tunes. This ability has made them popular as pets, as they can mimic entire sentences from their owners, adding funny and sometimes unexpected elements to conversations. An endless chocolate bar? Illusion or reality? The illusion of an endless chocolate bar is a geometric trick that creates the impression that a bar of chocolate can regenerate itself infinitely. It's an ingenious visual illusion that tricks our minds into believing in mathematical magic. Unfortunately, this trick doesn't work with real chocolate bars, but wouldn't it be a dream come true if it did? The Great Barrier Reef, a giant natural wonder. The Great Barrier Reef is not only the largest living structure on Earth, but also a bustling underwater city where thousands of species of fish, coral, and other marine creatures reside. It stretches over 2,300 kilometers along Australia's coast and is even visible from space. This natural wonder plays a crucial role in maintaining the ocean's ecosystem by filtering water and providing shelter for marine life. Unfortunately, climate change and ocean pollution threaten its existence. Scientists worldwide are working to preserve this astonishing underwater world for future generations. Could it be possible? The Pyramids of Giza were once colorful. When the Pyramids of Giza were first built, their surfaces were covered with smooth white limestone slabs, which reflected sunlight and made them appear bright and sparkling. At the top, there was likely a golden pyramidion, giving the pyramid a dazzling look. Over time, the white stone eroded, and the pyramids became what we see today: stark, but still majestic. Why a cat's brain is 90% like a human's? Surprisingly, despite their size, a cat's brain is 90% similar to a human's. While cats don't solve equations or read books, the structure of their brain, especially the cerebral cortex, is remarkably like ours. Cats can experience emotions such as joy, fear, and even jealousy, making them far more complex than they might seem. Their ability to learn and remember is impressive. They can associate specific actions with rewards, similar to how children learn. So, perhaps your little kitty is much smarter than you think. It just chooses not to show it. Goosebumps, an evolutionary artifact from our ancestors. Have you ever wondered why we get goosebumps? This phenomenon is linked to our ancient ancestors. Long ago, when humans and animals had more body hair, this reaction helped them appear larger and more intimidating to predators, while also retaining heat in cold weather. When tiny muscles at the base of hair follicles contract, the hair stands up, creating a fluffy effect. Today, goosebumps are a leftover from our evolutionary past, but they no longer serve the important function they once did. Nowadays, goosebumps are more often triggered by cold or strong emotions. So, next time you feel goosebumps, remember that they are a part of your ancient defense system. Did you know that ants never sleep? Ants are the real workaholics of the insect world. These amazing tiny creatures seem like they are non-stop working machines, constantly on the go, without ever pausing to rest. But the truth is, ants don't sleep the way we do. Instead, they take short breaks throughout the day to recharge their energy. Their remarkable strength and impressive teamwork make them one of the most successful and efficient species on Earth. It's truly mind-blowing when you realize just how resilient they are. Laika, the first star among space dogs. In 1957, a small Moscow stray named Laika became a true hero when she launched into space aboard Sputnik 2. Laika was the first living being to orbit the Earth, proving that life could survive in zero gravity. Her mission was a key part of the Soviet space program, which paved the way for future space exploration. Though Laika's return to Earth was not planned, her bravery inspired a generation of scientists and marked an important step toward conquering the cosmos. Laika remains a symbol of courage and sacrifice for the sake of progress. How can mysterious desert music frighten even the bravest? In the Sahara and other large sand deserts, you can hear an extraordinary sound often called the singing sands. When the wind blows over the surface of the dunes, the sand emits a deep hum, as if an orchestra is playing an invisible symphony. This sound can be so powerful that it can be heard for miles. Some researchers think the sound is caused by the sand moving across the slopes, while local tribes believe it is the voices of desert spirits guarding their lands. How does Germany successfully run a crocodile farm? At the crocodile farm in Saarland Zoo, more than 100 crocodiles live comfortably, even in Germany's harsh climate. This zoo is equipped with water heating systems that create ideal conditions for these exotic reptiles. Despite the cold winters, the crocodiles act as if they're in the tropics. Tourists can even watch them lazily swim or feed, making this one of the region's main attractions. Fold a piece of paper 42 times, and you'll reach the moon. Imagine this. If you could fold a piece of paper 42 times, it would become so thick that it could reach the moon. This incredible concept is tied to the exponential increase in the paper's thickness with each fold. Of course, in reality, it's almost impossible to fold a piece of paper more than 7 or 8 times due to its physical structure, but theoretically, it would work. This fun fact shows just how fascinating mathematics can be and how difficult it is for physical objects to adhere to such theoretical rules. Try it yourself and see how many times you can fold a piece of paper. Is it true that hippos sweat red? When hippos spend a lot of time in the sun, their skin starts to secrete a special red fluid that looks like blood. This sweat acts as both a sunscreen and an antiseptic, protecting them from sunburn and infection. It's often called blood sweat, though it contains no blood at all. This incredible secretion helps hippos withstand the intense African sun, spending most of their days in water and only occasionally coming out onto land. Did you know that in Iceland, there is a beach that constantly changes shape? On Iceland's southern coast, there is a black sand beach that constantly changes its shape depending on weather conditions and tides. Each year, locals and tourists notice that the beach's outlines shift significantly. New dunes appear in some places, while the sand disappears entirely in others. This phenomenon is caused by strong winds and underwater currents that transport the sand along the coastline. The beach is considered one of Iceland's most mysterious natural sights. Why does Turkey build palaces for stray cats? In the streets of Istanbul, you can find miniature houses that look like palaces, built especially for stray cats. The locals consider cats sacred animals and care for them with great love. Some of these houses even feature carvings and balconies, with food and water bowls nearby. These cat palaces have become symbols of Turkey's respect for animals, and tourists often admire these little masterpieces around the city. Did you know that some frogs can freeze solid and still survive? It turns out that certain frog species, like the wood frog, can completely freeze during winter and come back to life in the spring. These amazing amphibians can survive sub-zero temperatures by freezing almost entirely solid. Their hearts stop beating, they stop breathing, and their bodies turn rock hard. Yet, when the weather warms up, they thaw and return to their usual lives, hopping around like nothing happened. Nature's cold storage system proves that frogs are some of the ultimate survivors. Earth's gravity, why isn't it the same everywhere? Have you ever wondered why gravity varies slightly in different places on Earth? It turns out this is due to many factors such as altitude, the density of Earth's crust, and the distance from the equator. Gravity is stronger at the poles and in places with denser crust, like mountain ranges, because these areas are closer to the Earth's center. Conversely, gravity is weaker at high altitudes, such as on top of Mount Everest and near the equator. These variations are caused by the distribution of mass on the planet and the fact that Earth is slightly flattened at the poles. This highlights the complexity and uniqueness of our gravitational field. Now you know, in some places on Earth, you weigh a little more or less than in others. What do cats purr for, really? We often think cats only purr when they're happy, but they actually use purring as a self-healing mechanism. The sound frequency of about 25 hertz helps cats speed up bone and tissue healing. It's a biological feature that not only relaxes them but also promotes health. So when your cat purrs, it's not just showing contentment, it's also caring for its well-being. Did you know there's a basketball court on top of the US Supreme Court building? Yes, you heard that right. At the very top of the US Supreme Court building, there's a basketball court known as the highest court in the land. It's a place where judges and court staff can relax and play basketball between hearings. Imagine, after making important decisions, the justices can shed their robes and shoot some hoops, trading legal arguments for basketball shots. It's a truly unique combination of law and sport. Did you know the term internet was first used in 1974? We all know the internet is an essential part of modern life, but did you know the first mention of the word was in 1974? At that time, internet was used to describe a global network of interconnected computer systems. Back then, it was a novelty, but by the end of the 20th century, the internet became a revolutionary technology that changed the world. Today, billions of people are connected online, and the internet has become not just a communication tool, but also a key platform for business, science, and education. Did you know glass actually flows? Contrary to popular belief, glass is not entirely solid. Over time, glass slowly flows, though this process can take hundreds or thousands of years. In old buildings, you might notice that glass windows have become slightly thicker at the bottom. This happens because the molecules of glass gradually shift downward under the force of gravity, making it behave more like a very slow-moving liquid on a molecular level. Did you know that Big Ben is not a clock? Actually, Big Ben is not the name of the clock or the tower, but the bell inside the clock tower. Its full name is the Great Bell of Westminster, but people simply call it Big Ben. It chimes every hour, creating a melody heard by Londoners and visitors alike. It's one of the most recognizable landmarks in the world. And now you know the real story behind the name. Sleeping with one eye open. How dolphins and birds stay vigilant. Some animals, like dolphins and many birds, have the incredible ability to sleep with one eye open. This phenomenon is called unihemispheric sleep, where one half of the brain sleeps while the other stays awake to monitor the environment. This helps animals stay alert and avoid dangers like predators. For example, dolphins can sleep while staying on the water's surface and continue to breathe. Birds can rest in mid-flight or perched on a branch while remaining vigilant. This remarkable adaptation is an example of how nature has developed incredible survival mechanisms in the most challenging conditions.